Good morning, folks. Ann here. Welcome to my channel. Today's May 12th. It's Monday, 2025. Today's my day off from my walk. I went 2 consecutive days in the last couple of days, so I figured I'd give my legs a rest. And I wanted to give you a full report because I had mentioned that I was afraid about getting on my sister's boat. I didn't know whether I would be able to do it. And the way the dock is set up, I got on it beautifully with no problem at all and off of it. So I was happy about that yesterday. We had a gorgeous day. It was into the 70s. I made sure I put my lotion on and covered everything that was exposed to the sun because I have had a history of skin cancer. So I have to be careful with that. And we didn't really take the boat out yesterday because the owner of the marina said that there was all kinds of debris out there in that water, and it hasn't been cleaned up yet. And the buoys are not out, marking the places where there's sandbars or different obstacles in the way. So we chose not to go out on the boat. So we just sat there on the deck and we went over some of the ways that what things that need to be done before we actually do take the boat out. So anyway, we had a good day. We had an awesome day. And as I said in my walk yesterday, there was no way in the world I would have been able to go for my walk last night if I hadn't have done it in the morning. So I'm glad that I made the priority the first thing in the morning to get in and get that done. That has to come first, even before my good times. So, because there won't be any good times if I don't do it. There won't be any times that I'll even want to go out. I'll be sitting in my chair watching it on YouTube videos, people out having fun. So anyway, I wanted to put something valuable into this video this morning. And so I have a list here um, that hopefully can help some of you that are slowly wanting to reduce the carbs. Now, a lot of these things is the way that I have done it that first month. It took me a month to really get rid of the carbs, but I gradually reduced them. So some of these things, they pertain to me, and then other things I haven't done yet. So let me go over this list. It's the first one would be to pick one meal out of your day. If you now this is if you're just starting out and you've never gone low carb, or you gradually want to change your body over to fat burning and get rid of the carbs. So this is at the very beginning. So what they say, and I could be wrong. Let me just mention that I could be wrong. People do things differently, and I did it a little differently than this too. But these are just general suggestions. So and feel free to make any comments if you have better ideas, or because it helps everybody. We all get something out of your tips that you have. Those of you that have been into this for a long time, you have a lot of valuable information that we want. So tip number one is to change just one meal a day into a low carb meal, like breakfast, for instance. Instead of having your cereal or your oats, or the things that they've recommended that's good for you, eliminate that altogether and start with breakfast. I mean, with eggs instead of toast, or Greek yogurt instead of the cereal. Just and I always have bacon because you want to have that fat to fill you up and hold you over. You don't want to be, if you're like me, the minute you have those carbs in the morning, like if I had a bowl of cereal, I'd be hungry an hour or two later and be looking for something to snack on. So if you really fill up on the eggs, now I'm up to 3 eggs every day. 3 eggs a day I'm eating, and I'm having loads of bacon. Yesterday morning, I knew I was going out after I did my walk, and I didn't want to get hungry out there, so I had that one of those small pieces of steak that I bought from Aldi's a few days ago. And I had that, I had 3 eggs, and I must have had about 4 slices of bacon. And I didn't get hungry out there yesterday. So if you eat a large breakfast like that, you're not going to get hungry. You're not going to have a, I don't, people are different. And eventually, you're not going to have any sugar cravings or sugar lows. That was one of my biggest fears, is having a sugar low out when I'm out and about, because any of you that know or have diabetes, that's gonna really, that's scary. It's scary, very scary. So now this is something that actually I have not succeeded in until this week. Now that's the Diet Pepsi. I was drinking 2 glasses of Diet Pepsi a day in the afternoon to give me that kick. And so last week I cut it down to 1 Diet Pepsi. And now, this week, I'm not going to have any Diet Pepsi. I'm going to be done with the soda. And this is what I made sure to have for this afternoon. I have one of these here and then one of them up at my camp. It's unsweetened tea. So, and I'm only going to have a glass of it because it turned out it wasn't a hard thing for me to do to get rid of that second glass of soda that I got this past week. It wasn't hard for me to do that. And I think a lot of that has to do is because I'm getting a lot of energy. I don't need it. When I used to be loaded up with carbs and tired and sitting in my chair and, not able to keep my eyes off, dozing off on my chair, I used to have that Diet Pepsi. At least I thought I did. And that would give me a kick for a little while, but, I'm not needing it anymore. Folks, it's only been, 6 weeks? Since March 22nd that I started going low carb. And it's been a little over a week that I actually am off most of the carbs. I can't say all because there's a couple of carbs in those little wraps that I have, or 3 carbs, and you come across some carbs here and there, but I guarantee I'm probably well under 20 carbs a day. The only vegetable I have is an avocado. But anyway, so cut out the drinks, even the unsweetened drinks, and do it gradually. Don't go cold turkey. Don't feel like you have to do everything perfectly, because you don't. Just think of this as you're slowly progressing to the low carb lifestyle, and you're doing it as slow as you possibly can. So you don't get a lot of those negative side effects that some people get when they go cold turkey. They call it the keto flu, where you feel like you're sick for 2 weeks because your body's taking a drastic change all of a sudden. So you don't want that to happen. And I've tried that too in the past, but like on the third or fourth day, I'm like, screw this. I'm eating. It's hard to be sick and not feeling well. I mean, you're starting out already sick and not feeling well, and then you go into the, you know, keto flu, and that's hard. But I did it gradually. I'm doing it. I've done it gradually. And I was keeping a slice of bread or something on me if I had to go out and I got a sugar low. I did that for the whole month, or a cracker, or anything that will help you with a sugar low. So that's something good to keep on hand. So cut off the drinks. If you love bread like I did, try at the very beginning to skip at least one bread serving a day. Now, if you're having bread with every meal, try one meal without the bread, and that's gradual. And then you'll get used to not having that, and maybe you can do it on a second day. And then even if it takes you, it doesn't matter how long. It's when you're comfortable to decrease the serving, when you're comfortable, when you feel like you can do it. And when you do it once, if you skip one meal of bread, And you hang in there for a week or two and you notice that you didn't really need that slice of bread. So then you're going to go for 2 meals and skipping, one of the big heavy carbs, whether it's bread or spaghetti or rice or, any of those things that we're not supposed to have. They're not good for you. They're not healthy. The grains and things that they've been telling us for years is not healthy. Now, I know there's a difference of opinion, but there is a scientific fact that it's not healthy and we don't need it to survive and live to our fullest. So, and do it gradually. If it takes you 6 months to get off of the carbs, then that's you. That's how you have to do it because you want to make this a lifetime journey. And I know I only have a month and a half, and I know some of you might think, what right do I have to be preaching all this? But I tell you, in a month and a half, I have gotten so much confidence in this, and I feel so positive about this. And I know when I watch other people speak about it, their passion and how wonderful it changed their life, well, I'm starting to feel the same way, and it hasn't taken long. But we're all different. We're all different. So if it takes you longer or even shorter than me, then you listen to your body and go with what your body is telling you. But always keep in mind that you're going to try to reduce those carbs. So what I did is I used lettuce wraps when I was trying to get rid of the bread, and I knew I liked to have my sandwiches. Now I found some egg life wraps that only have 3 carbs, and I am still using that because I like to make a sandwich, and I'm gonna be camping this summer, and I've been worried what am I gonna use to make a sandwich to take out on a boat. But when I first started this back on March 22nd, the way that I was making the sandwich wraps was with lettuce, with those packages of lettuce. They come 3 in a pack, they're about this long. 3 romaine, 3 stalks of romaine. And I'll tell you, that will make a beautiful sandwich for you. And not only that, it's tasty. And you can get used to that. And I was putting a mayonnaise on it. And mayonnaise doesn't have a lot of carb, or I don't even know if mayonnaise has any carbs in it. So, and it actually was very good. I think you'll enjoy it. And if you only do that for that one time a day instead of bread, then just try it because it'll help you. Now, I know eventually if you're like me, you don't even want to do the vegetables at all. And I haven't done a lettuce wrap in 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't done that because I am trying to get off the vegetables. The only thing I'm having is avocado. So I think the lettuce wraps are a good idea when you're starting out because, even when I was first starting out, I'd get hungry. I couldn't. Now I'm trying to do the fasting from 6 to 10, 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. And there has been times when I was first starting that I'd get hungry at about 8 or 9 o'clock, and I'd make a lettuce wrap with my cold cuts and my mayonnaise, and I'd be able to go to sleep and not feel guilty that I just had 2 slices of bread, and that stuff will kill you, folks. No matter how much you pay for the bread, if it's the best bread out there, it's not good for you, and none of it is good for you. I did at the very begin, even before I started this journey, I was eating the pumpernickel bread because I heard that was good, better. Not good for you, but better. So I had been eating that for a while. And then I switched over to the lettuce wraps. So just try those. Those are good and they do fill you up. But you still need your doctor's appointment and get cleared on all of this because everybody is in a different state of health, and I wouldn't want to say anything that would make you worse or have some kind of episode that just I'm not an authority. I'm only really new to this, and my only qualification is that I'm going through this and I have I do. I know what I've been through and how these things have helped me. So And number 5 is to choose full fat dairy. Now, I was I was drinking for the longest time that sweetened, no sugar creamer for my coffee, and that's as bad as the soda that I was drinking, the aspartame. And every morning I'd get up feeling all right, and I'd have 2 cups of that coffee with the unsweetened creamer. And no wonder that right from the very beginning, no wonder my days were a struggle. I didn't stand a chance. I was sick right after I drank that, and I didn't realize it. And that probably, that taste of sugar, even though it's not real sugar, they say that that really affects your body as if you did have real sugar. So that stuff is not any good. So what I ended up doing, I'm not sure, maybe 2 or 3 weeks into it, I ended up buying the heavy whipping cream because I have to have my coffee and I don't like to drink it black. So, and I used to also, after I changed it over to the heavy whipping cream, I was putting 1 stevia in it. And by my 4th or 5th week, I eliminated the stevia. So I'm only having the whipping cream, and I'm satisfied. The more I drink it, I'm getting used to it. It's not like having a cup of coffee that tastes like a milkshake, but I think you get used to it. And not only that, because it doesn't taste like a milkshake, I think that I'll probably naturally cut down on that because I find myself not getting through my second cup sometimes. So change to full fat dairy. The cheese. I do eat the cheese, and yogurt. I haven't bought. I never was a fan of yogurt, but they say that some of it could be healthy for you. But I tried it a few times. I never was a fan of that, but I know a lot of people do like it. My brother eats a lot of yogurt, the Greek healthy yogurt, and use cream instead of milk because milk has a lot of sugar in it as well. So just gradually start making these little changes and including them in your diet, replacing them. Now, what's helped me, now, if any of you know, I just always loved my potato chips and dip. So, and I don't like the idea of having snacks around. I don't want to buy the keto crackers, the keto cookies, because I want my mindset not to think that I need to have a snack. And when you eat a big meal, your meals are full of protein and good healthy fats. You're not going to want a snack anyway. But in the event, which I have to say I have been doing, is when I go to Aldi's, I buy these. Now these don't have any sugar on them at all. And they also have they have some plain if you don't like the hot and spicy. You can buy these anywhere. Chicharrones. You could buy them anywhere, plain. Now I know the ingredients of this is not the best, and I'm gonna not. There's gonna be a point that I'm not gonna buy these, and I'm definitely not gonna need them. I see them. I don't reach for them very often. So, but it's good to have on hand when you're first starting out because you might get an urge to have something, a snack. You're slowly, gradually, you know, getting rid of the carbs, and sometimes when you're going through that, you want something to replace it. And those are good. I do enjoy them. These particular ones are very hot, so that prevents me from eating too much many anyway. And even if they weren't hot, I wouldn't go through too many of them. But they're good to have on hand just in case you need a snack. Okay, and then number 7 is to try one low carb swap per week, like like using cauliflower, rice. You can buy it at the supermarket. The cauliflower is already formed into rice, or even almond flour pancakes instead of regular ones. Now, on all that stuff you eventually want to get off. I'm not saying that this is what you want to stick to. I mean, but I'll tell you what, even if you did stick to this, you're so much better off than eating the carbs. The real white rice or the real pancakes. You're so much better off, even if this was your major swap, and you live like that. So, but I think that as time goes on, you're gonna need less and less. You're gonna want less and less of the carbs, and the whole trick is not to spike your blood sugar, because if you're like me, the minute you spike your blood sugar, you are out of control. But you're gradually doing this, so you're going to be spiking your blood sugar. You're doing this slowly. But the less that you have these carbs as the days go on, you're going to notice less and less that you want the carbs. And when you get to a point where you're right on the cusp of being in ketosis and having your carbs, when you're right at that point, you're going to get sugar lows like I did. If you're anything like me, you are. And it's such a fine line. And what happened with me is I'd get those sugar lows less and less as time went on. So my body was gradually getting into that state of ketosis. Now I'm only into, I have the little strips that you can test your urine to see what state of ketosis you're in. And I'm still only at 1.5, but I'm happy about that. I'm very happy that it's staying at 1.5, because at least I know I'm in ketosis and the sugar lows have vanished. But I always make sure that I have something that I can eat. Like yesterday, I knew I was going to hang out with my sister, and I knew if we were going to be out on that boat, well, my brother came with us too to help us with anything we needed. But I knew I packed some sausage that I had made in a little baggie. I packed a little bag of bacon, and I took 3 hard-boiled eggs with me. And I did snack on that a little bit. And then as 2 o'clock rolled around, they needed to have their lunch. And I would have too if I hadn't had those snacks. But by the time we got off the boat, we put everything away. We got down to back down to town. Um, we ended up going to McDonald's. They have those two double cheeseburgers for $5. So we all ended up getting that. And then we went back to my other brother's house, and we sat in a camper that my sister is actually buying. And boy, she's gonna be set up, and I'm gonna be in a tent, or maybe even sleeping in my car. I'm considering that. But so we got that, and when I go to McDonald's, I still need to be able to go to McDonald's and have a life, But I didn't eat not one piece of that bread. So I actually sat there and ate 4 of the cheeseburgers without the bread, and I was so full after that. I didn't have to eat until 5:30 when I got home. When I got back home, and I just had, I think, what I had last night. I think I just had. God, what did I have for dinner last night? I can't remember. I'm sorry, folks. I'm getting old. That comes with age. But it wasn't. It was all healthy. It was meat or some kind that must have been left over. No, I know what it was. Hot dogs. I ended up just making a couple of hot dogs last night, and I didn't even make the eggs because I wasn't hungry. Those 4 hamburgers filled me right up. So swap out one low carb a week. Do it gradually. This is not all written in stone. Do it the way you feel, how you can do it. You might think, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it cold. I'm gonna do it real fast. But after the diets that I've been on all my life and trying to do things quickly, it never worked for me. I want this to be a lifestyle. I don't want to go through major changes in my body. I want it to be gradual so that I could, and I think it is working that way for me. And I looked at all that bread on those cheeseburgers, and my siblings, they were eating that bread, and I didn't say anything but man, oh man, once you get off of that stuff, you notice other people eating it. And once you learn more and you watch all the videos out there and you learn more, you just know that they're hurting themselves with all that. It's all garbage. It's not good. That white flour they use for those rolls on McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's is not the best place to eat anyway, but I'm on a fixed income, so and I do like to stop and well, every week I go out with another brother. Well, I have four brothers, so if I'm talking about a brother, it could be one of any four of them. You cut back on your pasta gradually, instead of and I have to tell you one thing I did do too about that, because I used to like to have spaghetti and stuff. So I ended up buying those hearts of palm. They come in a little package, and you have to rinse them off real good. And they look just like spaghetti, but they helped me so much get off of spaghetti. I loved it so much. So I would have the meatballs, but I switched the spaghetti out to the hearts of palms. I wish I did have a package here I could show you, but now I'm off of that too. I don't even want that. But it helped me with my transition of getting off something that I loved. And I did have the sauce with the meatballs, which the sauce we know that's not good either. Tomato sauce is not good. But it was helping me transition. So the one thing that meal did was, yeah, I had the sauce, but I didn't have the spaghetti. I had the hearts of palm. And what you do is you rinse it off real good so you don't get that taste that's on it. And you put it in and you boil it up real good. Now it's a little it's not as tender as a piece of spaghetti, but I tell you, you start eating and you realize that you could do that. You could handle that. Like I said, if you had to do that for life and get off of the spaghetti and just have the hearts of palms when you're in the mood for some pasta, that works. It absolutely does work. So that was gradually reducing my carbs as well. And then number 9 is cut sugar in half if you are a big time sugar eater, which I've been for years trying to gradually get off of these things. See, now when I say that this all started on March 22nd, I went low carb, and I've been studying this, watching these videos on carnivore and ketovore way back in 2023, because that was how I didn't get into ketosis or anything, but I was gradually making changes back then. And I got my A1C down from 7.9 to 6.4, and that was all done without medication. Because I told my doctor that if I don't do it myself, then I agree to go on the medication. So, and then in 2024, I fell apart, and I didn't, I screwed everything up, and I was certain that my A1C went back up. I was certain, because I was hurting so bad and feeling so bad um, before I started on March 22nd again. So I have some experience through the years of doing the low carb. So when I talk about some things, it all wasn't just this last 6 weeks that I learned this. I've known this. I've known this. I've gradually been knowing this. But anyway, sugar is the worst thing that you could eat. It is just terrible. And don't think for 1 minute that carbs is not sugar, because the minute carbs enter your body, they have all these packaged food that says low in sugar and all of this, but if it has 48 grams of carbs and no sugar, don't don't buy into it. It's not right. It's not right. It's deceitful. That carbs will turn into sugar, and you might as well take a just start eating mouthfuls of sugar when you're eating the carbs. So